It is 12 midnight. I'm Norzie and this is Nightline, the headlines. Ministers achieve a 90% score for 100-day KPI, says Prime Minister. And fatality among unvaccinated 20 times higher compared to vaccinated. The overall performance of the Cabinet in its 100-day report card stood at 90%. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said the realisation of the Keluarga Malaysia government is based on 6 main cores and 140 key targets expected to be implemented within the first 100 days. The Prime Minister said this when launching the 100-day Malaysian Family Aspiration Programme on Thursday.
Prestasi keseluruhan 100 hari Jemaah Menteri belum menepati sasaran 100% seperti yang dihasratkan. Namun pada ketika ini, ahli Jemaah Menteri telah mencapai sekitar 90% pencapaiannya. Walau bagaimanapun, sesetengah prestasi tidak boleh dinilai daripada kaji selidik semata-mata. Maka peratusan yang dicapai ini bukan alasan untuk kita mendabik dada, sebaliknya ia menyuntik kesungguhan dan iltizam untuk kami terus bekerja bersama rakyat.
The event was marked with a 4-day carnival between December 9th and 12th at the Kuala Lumpur Convention Centre, showcasing various ministerial achievements and services. Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri had announced during the unveiling of his cabinet on August 27th that the newly appointed ministers were given 100 days to achieve their performance targets once taking office. A total of 31 ministries and 5 agencies under the Prime Minister's department are required to achieve their targets. The targets are based on evaluation on performance, leadership and public perception. The 100-day performance was monitored jointly by the Office of the Chief Secretary to the Government, the Malaysian Administrative Modernisation and Management Planning Unit, MAMPU, and Shared Prosperity Delivery Unit, SEPADU, between September 1st and December 9th. And for more on this, joining us live now is Chief Economist of Bank Islam Malaysia Berhad, Dr. Muhammad Afzanizam Abdul Rashid. Dr. Afzanizam, good to see you as always. The 100-day report card reflects results of short-term measures. How would you rate what was unveiled on Thursday?
Well, I guess if you look at the 100 days, I think it's too short of a time considering the fluidity of the condition of the situation, especially in respect to the COVID-19. Nonetheless, I must say the government of the day has done quite a good job in terms of the vaccination program. And as we know, we have achieved a herd immunity when the vaccination rate has reached 90% on the 10th of October. And subsequently, the government actually announced that the interstate travel ban has been actually lifted on the next day. So in that sense, I think there will be more economic activities. And if you look at the numbers, I think it's quite visible. If you look at the unemployment rate, actually, scaled down to 4.3% as of October. And you can see that the consumer sentiment index as published by the MIR has actually improved 101 points during the third quarter in 2021. The sentiment among the businesses as reflected in the purchasing managers index rose to 52.3 points in November, and it has been above 50 points for 2 consecutive months. So I think in general, I think in this 100 days time frame, I think the government has done quite a tremendous good job in terms of delivering what is needed for the country.
What are you hearing from the ground? What are the areas that can be further improved on for the long term, especially to continue attracting foreign investors amidst regional challenges?
Well, I guess on the grounds, people have been complaining about the rising cost of living. So this is something not new, but perhaps I think more needs to be done in respect to the monitoring activities, especially in respect to malpractice among businesses. And of course, the worry over the new variants of COVID-19. So I think these are the common grouses among the Malaysian citizens. But I think in respect to attracting investment into these countries, I think what is critically needed, obviously, is the sustainably and perhaps a consistency in policy making. Of course, when there was a new leadership came in during August, of course, policy continuity was among important things that have been focused among the investors. So for now, I think that continuity has been reflected in the important documents like the 12 nation plans, that budget 2022. I think more or less has been shared. So I think perhaps what is more important now is on the execution of those plans. So policy continuity, execution, and results will be the key drivers for attracting investors.
The 100-day performance target for ministers, I mean, you've said that it's too short, but do you think that the time frame given was still realistic owing to the COVID-19 pandemic environment? Some say that ministers handling issues on the economy and COVID-19 must be able to show positive results to the public in less than 100 days.
Well, I think it's symbolic, I would say. 100 days timeline indicate that the PM means business when it comes to how the country should be managed. And when we're putting in terms of the KPIs, that would set the tone in terms of how each minister should be able to perform. And the rakyat could actually observe whatever outcomes what is being expected. So far, like I said in my earlier statements, I think the numbers says it all in terms of the better improvement in terms of the economic conditions. So I think the timeline indicates that the Prime Minister's seriousness about managing the country.
Well, in terms of performance of ministers holding key positions, in your view, how do you think this reflects the Prime Minister's leadership or lack of it, if you will?
Well, I think, like I said, I think the Prime Minister is very focused, and I think what matters now, obviously, is the policy continuity. And then this particular aspect has been reflected in the, like I said earlier on Budget 2022, whereby the government is remain committed to ensure that their fiscal position will remain resilient, and among other things being announced during the Budget 2022 is actually they want to introduce a Fiscal Responsibility Act. So I think in that regards, the government is trying to strike a delicate balance. So, and then I think with this, sharing of information with the public, I think that could actually help to manage people's expectation. What can we expect in terms of how the economy going forward?
Right, Dr. Afzal Nizam, thank you very much for that. As always, we appreciate your thoughts and analysis on this. Moving on, a COVID-19 fatality is 20 times higher among the unvaccinated population as compared to the vaccinated population. Health Director General Tan Sri Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah said based on the Health Ministry's data, the COVID-19 death trend in Malaysia also continues to show a downward pattern with the wide vaccination coverage. Tan Sri Dr. Nur Hisham in a Twitter post on Thursday said the ministry's data also revealed that deaths among non-vaccinated and partially vaccinated individuals stands at 3,200 people per 1 million population. He added that among the fully vaccinated, breakthrough deaths are only 160 per 1 million population. As for those who have received the booster dose, there is an average of only 4 deaths per 1 million population. In another tweet, he said that a third dose of the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine triggers a 25-fold jump in antibody levels against the new Omicron variant from 6 to 154. The results, said the Health Director General, were based on laboratory studies using the blood of 20 people who were either double jabbed 3 weeks ago or triple jabbed a month ago. He also tweeted that a research had shown that the fatality rate dropped by 90% for those who received booster shots or third doses compared to those who have not, among over 840,000 people who participated in the study aged 50 years old and above. In view of this, he stressed that the two most effective tools available to fight the COVID-19 pandemic, including the latest variant of concern, Omicron, are none other than wearing a mask correctly and taking the booster dose.
Life in the post-pandemic era. with COVID-19 changing the way people live, by accelerating digitalization as Malaysians look towards the horizon for recovery. What is Telekom Malaysia's role? Telekom Malaysia TM Group Chief Executive Officer Imri Mokhtar on Money Matters this Saturday 5 p.m. only on TV3.
Penyakit berjangkit dan penyakit tidak berjangkit. Sejauh mana cabaran dihadapi perkhidmatan penjagaan kesihatan negara dalam mendepaninya? Dan bagaimana pula dengan rakyat? Cakna atau tidak dengan kesihatan diri sendiri? Segala persoalan dan kemusykilan kami bawakan dalam Soal Rakyat bersama Timbalan Menteri Kesihatan 1 Datuk Dr. Nur Azmi Ghazali. Sabtu 11 Disember jam 5.30 petang hanya di TV3.
Malaysia is seeking a successful re-election as a council member in Category C of the International Maritime Organisation (IMO) for the 9th term. Transport Minister Datuk Sri Wee Ka Siong is confident that Malaysia will gain the votes to be reappointed, as Malaysia has been showcasing its achievements in the world's maritime community, including providing technical support to developing countries and small island nations. The election of IMO Council members for the period 2022 to 2023 will be held on Friday in conjunction with the 32nd IMO Assembly at its London headquarters. Our correspondent in London, Haliza Hashim, has the story.
Datuk Seri Wee said Malaysia's candidature reflects its commitment to continue the present cooperation towards future undertakings, to advance and strengthen ties of various cooperation between Malaysia and the IMO, and in return evolve and complement into a long-term mission to promote safe, secure, environmentally sound, efficient and sustainable shipping. Malaysia acceded to the IMO Convention in 1971 and became an official member state of the organisation since then. During the past 50 years, Malaysia had ratified 26 out of the 58 IMO conventions, ensuring the safety, security of shipping and the protection of the marine environment was given priority. Malaysia has played an active role in many IMO forums, in particular the International Technical Cooperation Programme, ITCP, and successfully delivered training programs to over 500 participants.
Sudah 15 tahun kita bertanding, kita menduduki kursi council member dan sudah ada prestasi yang dapat dilihat oleh negara-negara anggota. Jadi ini yang satu. Kedua, kesinambungan. Kita orang melihat Malaysia ini telah memainkan peranan dalam ITCP program, IMLI, Seafarers Welfare dan juga dalam World Maritime University. Sebab itu mereka mau melihat ada kesinambungan dari situ.
According to the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, UNCTAD, 2 Malaysian ports, Port Klang and Port Tanjung Pelepas, are among the 15 busiest cargo ports in the world. Therefore, Malaysia is recognised as the 5th best country in terms of shipping lines. On Wednesday, Malaysia held a reception for IMO member states delegates in conjunction with our candidature theme Compliance Through Innovation. This year's campaign is different following the COVID-19 pandemic, in which some member states were unable to attend to vote. Hence, Malaysia has doubled its efforts to be re-elected as a member council. The IMO is a specialized agency of the United Nations, responsible for measures to improve the safety and security of international shipping, navigation affairs, shipping operations, and address pollution from ships. Haliza Hashim, TV3, London.
After the break, Malaysia on track to becoming carbon neutral by 2050, says Adam Baba. Welcome back. The candidacy of Parti Pribumi Bersatu Malaysia's Dato' Ali Biju in the 12th Sarawak state election will stay, despite having announced his withdrawal from the race on Thursday. Based on the Election Commission or EC rules, his name will remain on the ballot paper and he will still be considered as a candidate contesting for the Krian seat in the polls. According to Rule 9 of the Elections, Conduct of Elections, Regulations 1981, no candidate can withdraw his candidacy after 10 a.m. on nomination day. Therefore, Dato' Ali's name and symbol will still appear on the ballot paper, and if he gains the majority of votes on polling day on December 18th, he will still be declared the winner. Earlier, the State Bersatu Vice Chairman, who is also Krian incumbent assemblyman, announced in a statement that he was pulling out from defending the seat and will fully support Gabungan Parti Sarawak GPS candidate Friday Belik, who is also vying for the seat in the polls. The Saratuk Member of Parliament had on Monday went against his party's decision not to contest in the election following a consensus reached between Perikatan Nasional and GPS and filed his nomination papers as an independent candidate. The launch of locally made electric scooters powered by nanostructured batteries proves the commitment of the Science, Technology and Innovation Ministry in ensuring Malaysia's goal of becoming a carbon-neutral country by 2050 is achieved. Its Minister, Datuk Seri Dr. Adam Baba, said the launch of the motorcycle, named e-Klimo ES11, would pave the way for the country to join the multi-billion ringgit electric vehicle or EV industry and help revive the economy post-COVID-19.
Kerajaan kita komited dalam menyokong industri EV dengan mengecualikan duty import, duty excise dan cukai jualan bagi semua kenderaan EV. Satu tepukan kepada inisiatif yang diberikan. Bukan itu saja, pelepasan cukai pendapatan sehingga RM2,500 akan diberikan bagi kos pembelian, pemasangan, penyewaan, kemudahan sewa beli serta bayaran melanggan kemudahan mengecas EV.
Datuk Seri Adam said this when launching the electric motorcycle developed by his ministry in collaboration with Nano Malaysia Berhad and e-Klimo Sendirian Berhad on Thursday. He also said the use of EV vehicles is in line with the country's goal to reduce the intensity of greenhouse gas emissions to gross domestic product GDP by 45% by 2030 as outlined in the 12th Malaysia Plan. The e-Klimo ES11 has a 100-kilometre range per charge cycle with a maximum speed of 100 kilometres per hour, with 58 units built so far, and plans are already underway to provide the scooter to the public as a mode of transportation in cities. The government does not intend to hold local council elections as they are running well under the system of appointing councillors. Housing and Local Government Minister Datuk Seri Rizal Marikan Naina Marikan said on Thursday that the government would have to spend an estimated RM302 million to reinstate the system for all the 151 local councils in Malaysia. He added in a written reply in Parliament that the estimation of RM2 million for each local council election does not include hidden costs that have to be borne by other agencies such as the police and RELA to ensure order at the polling stations. Apart from this, if the polls are done every 2 years, it would cause candidates who are supposed to serve the people to be too preoccupied with the electoral process. He also said that the local council elections would not guarantee good or better service to the people. Through the current system, councillors that do not perform well can also be dropped or would not be appointed after the end of their tenure. New Zealand to ban cigarette sales for future generations. This and more when we return. Onto the foreign front, the New Zealand government plans to ban young people from ever buying cigarettes in their lifetime in one of the world's toughest crackdowns on the tobacco industry, arguing that other efforts to extinguish smoking were taking too long. Under the proposed new legislation, those aged 14 in 2027 will never be allowed to legally purchase cigarettes, while the level of nicotine in all cigarettes on sale will be reduced. It is understood that the government will consult with the Maori Health Task Force in the coming months before introducing the legislation into Parliament in June next year, with the aim of making it law by the end of 2022. That would make New Zealand's retail tobacco industry one of the most restricted in the world, just behind Bhutan, where cigarette sales are banned outright. The U.S. Senate on Wednesday voted to block President Joe Biden's vaccine or test mandate for large private employers in a symbolic win for conservatives that will have little tangible effect. The measure passed 52-48 with the support of all 50 Republicans in the upper chamber and 2 centrist Democrats, but is not expected to fare well in the House of Representatives, where it may only have support from the right. Under Biden's plan, all companies with more than 100 workers will have to require their employees to be immunized or undergo weekly testing from January 4th. The Senate pushback was led by Indiana's Mike Braun, who told the media that threatening Americans' jobs if they refuse on both counts is the heavy hand of government. And currently, all 3 major Biden vaccine policies for people not employed by the federal government face legal challenges and are currently on ice.
Have all senators voted? Does any senator wish to?
In another development, early data indicates the Omicron COVID variant may more easily reinfect people who have already had the virus or been vaccinated than previous variants. In confirming the matter, World Health Organization WHO Chief Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said Omicron could also cause milder disease.
Emerging data from South Africa suggests increased risk of reinfection with Omicron, but more data are needed to draw firmer conclusions. There is also some evidence that Omicron causes milder disease than Delta, but again, it's still too early to be definitive.
Ghebreyesus, however, stressed that more data was needed before drawing firm conclusions and urged countries everywhere to boost their surveillance to help provide a clearer picture of how Omicron is behaving. The hopeful assessments came as global concern grew over the heavily mutated variant, which has forced dozens of nations to reimpose border restrictions and raised the possibility of a return to economically punishing lockdowns. Harimau Malaya carry on their winning momentum. Action from AFF Suzuki Cup is coming up next. Sports football, the 2020 AFF Suzuki Cup. Safawi Rasid struck a hat-trick as the men's national football team recorded their second victory in Group B by beating Laos 4-0 at Bishan Stadium in Singapore. Laos fell behind just after 6 minutes, with Safawi opening the scoring with a simple tap-in following a cross from Arif Aiman. He then doubled his tally in the 34th minute when he headed in a corner to make it 2-0. Defender Shahrul Saad added the third in the 78th minute with a surging run and cool finish before Safawi completed his hat-trick with a sweet finish from inside the box just 2 minutes later to seal the victory. With the win, the Tan Cheong Ho's men now have 6 points from 2 games with 7 goals and 1 goal conceded so far. They next face Vietnam at the Bishan Stadium on Sunday. Over in France, the spectacular Festival of Lights kicked off in Lyon, lighting up the entire city at night as public buildings, town squares, parks and even lakes become canvases for works of art for 4 magical evenings. Take a look. I'm Norzie. Thank you for tuning in and stay safe, Malaysia.